Title of today's lesson, lesson 21, Jesus prays for us. Jesus prays for us. Now, does that just sound good that he makes a prayer for us? Hey, I didn't know he did that. Let's see what he said. Let's see what he prayed for us. Why do we place such emphasis on a prayer that Jesus might have prayed for us? Does it just sound more important for some reason?
Yes.
Why? Because okay.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to tell me is that if he took the time to make a prayer for us, it's probably to our advantage that we figure out what he prayed for and actually believe that it's happening and actually get into agreement with him that this is the answer, this is the result of that prayer. So let's examine this prayer for us. Now, right. Yes.
And he prays for us.
I have come to realize recently that it seems to me that after Jesus finished his assignment, that God really put him in charge of running the whole kingdom. And now he gets to act like a granddad and just play with the kids. Okay, Jesus, you took care of all that. Thank you. You did a great job. You're in charge. I'm just going to go enjoy my family. Now, I'm not saying he's like left the room or anything. I'm not saying that at all. But his focus seems to have shifted from instead of the day-to-day management of this whole deal to I'm just going to enjoy my kids. I'm going to have fun with my kids. I'm going to be a dad and a granddad. Or I know there's no second generation stuff in there, but I'm going to act like a grandpa to my kids. I'm going to enjoy spoiling them. Might not be the right word, but you get the sense of what I'm saying when I say that. Anyway, it's just been interesting for me to see that. Very far different from the idea that you had a God's ready there with the lightning bolts, ready to smash you when you mess up. Anyway, John 17, verses 13 through 23. John 17, 13 through 23. I'm coming to you now, but I say these things while I'm still in the world, so that they may have the full measure of my joy within them. I've given them your word, and the world has hated them, for they are not of the world any more than I am of the world. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. For I sent for them I sanctify myself, that they too may be truly sanctified. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I've given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. So at the very end of that, he talks about how I don't only pray this for these guys that are sitting here with me, but I pray this for all these that are going to hear, because we'll get to that in a minute. I just want you to know that going in, that this prayer is not just for those guys sitting there. It's for everybody that's going to hear as a result of those guys sitting here. So go ahead and apply it to you as we're talking about it. Verse 13. Let's break this down a little bit. And now I'm coming to you. I say these things while I'm still in the world, so that my joy may be made full and complete and perfect in them, that they may experience my delight fulfilled in them, that my enjoyment may be perfected in their own souls, that they may have my gladness within them, filling their hearts. Now that's pretty bold. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in that thing, and Jesus is praying that for you. His joy be complete, made full and complete, made perfect in them or in us. Experience my delight fulfilled. My enjoyment may be perfected in their own souls. Have my gladness within them, filling their hearts. That sounds great. That sounds cool. Yes, I want that. This verse starts with Jesus saying certain things while still in this world. You can back up a few verses to realize that Jesus was praying for the disciples. I don't have time today to go back into that, but you can check that out if you wish. Just back up a few verses and see what I say these things while I'm still in the world. What things was he saying? Back up. We'll talk about that. I think it's next week, maybe the week after, the verses prior to in a different context. So I was going to wait and read them all in that study when we get to that. Okay, here's another version. I am on my way to you. So Jesus saying to the Father, I'm on my way to you. But I say these things while I'm still in the world, so my followers will have the same complete joy that I do. I say these things so that my followers may have the same complete joy that I have. Wow. Do we operate in that? Do we recognize that? Do we realize that we have access to the same joy that Jesus had himself?
I think sometimes, I don't to speak for myself, is that I was having struggles with the word joy, especially in when it talks about in the midst of trials. And for me, what I discovered that it's not my joy. It's
Right.
It's his joy. And that changed the whole perspective of it. That now, this applies to me at work. When I'm at work and it's getting close to the longest hour of being at work, that I can say it's the joy of the Lord that is my strength.
Right.
And I verbally say that repeatedly, and after a while I find myself joy.
Now, let's talk about what's going on here. What's about to happen? John 17, what's about to occur to Jesus? He's about to go to the cross. Would he view that situation as joyous?
In some aspects, but it does.
The Bible says, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and would sit down at the right hand of the majesty on high. So it wasn't the joy of that event, it was the joy of what came after. The best example, and one that he used occasionally, was women in childbirth. Is childbirth a pleasant experience? Is that something that I've never done it? Don't really have any desire to do that, but from what I have learned, it's not a pleasant thing while it's happening. But shortly after that whole event takes place and you hold that baby in your arms, it seems like you forget about all the stuff, all the pain, all the issues, all the difficulties associated with it. The joy set before, the joy of getting through with this. This isn't going to be fun. This isn't going to be great, but there's joy on the other side of it if I can just get there. And I think that's what's going on here. This event's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be great, guys, but it doesn't really matter because I know on the other side of that, there's a huge payout. There's a huge reward. And that brings me joy even in the midst of going through the difficulty.
And that was his purpose for being here. It was joy.
Yeah.
We had
And we couldn't have it because we were separated from God. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's good. There's another verse that talks about he was anointed with the joy of the oil of gladness above his fellows. So one of the things that Jesus had is its anointing that we don't talk about is the anointing of the oil of gladness beyond his companions. We have access to that same joy. There's one version that read happiness, and I didn't really like that version. We tend to get all mixed up when we start talking about happiness. We tie it so much to our conditions at the moment, our emotions at the moment. But really, the true outcome of joy is happiness when you realize what's going on, when you realize what's happening. Now I'm returning to you. I'm speaking this prayer here in the created cosmos alongside friends and foes so that in hearing it, they might be consumed with joy. What is the ability to be consumed with joy? Hearing this prayer, hearing what I'm saying on your behalf, hearing what I am doing, hearing what I'm about to release. All of those things should, both to friend and foe. Now that's interesting. How do foes get joy out of the situation? It's not really available to them, but maybe he's talking about the possibility of them not being stuck there anymore. They're currently a foe, but they don't have to be. After I do what I'm doing, now the choice is yours. If you want to be on my side, great. There's joy in front of you. If you don't, you at least had the opportunity, and I'm going to view that as being a good and a joyful thing that I gave you the choice. And again, he's praying this for the disciples, so he's praying it for us, according to later in the passage. Have we received? Do we actively think about, okay, God, today I want to be consumed with joy. I want to help you answer your prayer, and I want to be consumed with joy today. But now I'm returning to you. So, Father, I pray they will experience and enter into my joyous delight in you so that it is fulfilled in them and overflows. I pray they will experience and enter my joyous delight in you so that it is fulfilled in them and it overflows. I have never claimed that scripture. I have never claimed that verse as a promise to me, as a prayer for me. Don't know why I haven't, don't know why I missed that, but this is going to be something that I'm going to have to start doing. Experiencing enter my joyous delight so that it will be fulfilled in them, in me, until it overflows. This delight is more than happiness. It's the complete satisfaction that comes in knowing that our lives are pleasing to the Father and that we fulfill his desires on the earth. This is the delight that Jesus shares with us and prays that we would experience.
What I see is what he's talking about is that he is joyous because he does what the Father said.
Yes.
He wants to know the joy when we do what the Father said. Be able to experience the joy of doing the Lord's will, and I think that's what it's saying, I'll be fulfilled, by living by God's telling me to do,
Right.
the best I can. And we find joy. I know personally, I find joy when I know I'm doing, the Father's will. If I'm not doing Father's work, I'm doing whatever else, the joy really isn't there, start getting,
Right.
So I've been praying and contemplating prayer. Joy is the key word.
Okay.
Sentence. So what is everybody's concept of joy? What is joy?
Well, this translates in joyous delight. So he goes a little further. Delight, and like I just said, it's about fulfilling God's will, making him pleased, making him happy, for lack of a better term, making him. It's hard to say that without saying happy. I feel like I'm playing taboo or something.
He's promising us joy.
Yes.
So is that? Shall we say that is? What? Is peacefulness? Is it?
Peacefulness is included in the mix. It's not in its totality. Free of anxiety. You're not consumed with anything. You're not stressed. You're not worried. You would say all that it is peace. So it's another way of saying peace, but it's an empowering thing too. I don't know. Good question.
God's special care and protection and see the victory God brings, even when defeat seems certain. He's telling these things right at the time, and he knows he's fixing to go die. He knows God is defeated, but he still has the joy. Even though soon, or not soon, but Oklahoma City Thunder, game 4, they're beat by 25 points. They're beat, no matter what. Can they find joy in that?
Right.
Where do we find the joy? That is a good question. I couldn't give a definitive answer I could not define joy in one explanation. But I know I've experienced joy, just like what you were talking about. Finally, kind of fulfilling what God has, asked me to do in my life at least. And usually it means that I'm not doing things for myself,
Right.
serving others. And I do it right. It doesn't happen very often. But when I do it right, there's joy in that. And can I give it I can't describe that other than I know it's this sensation, this feeling, whether it's my spirit, my body, whatever it is. I know that I'm in line with the Lord, that I'm in tune with the Lord, that He is, that I'm doing the right thing, serving Him the way He wants me to serve Him. And so I really just can't give it an explanation of it, other than I'm knowing, like what you said, is that I'm doing the Father's will correctly this time. I don't have to wonder, am I doing God's will, or no? I know for a fact, and it's only happened maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, following Jesus. So, but I can't.
You've only done it correctly 2 or 3 times.
Well, I'm just saying, I know without a shadow of a doubt.
We'll get that number increased.
Put it this way, 2 or 3 times that it was just unmistakably, I'm in the Father's will. I'm sure it's happened a lot, but I know there's.
Right.
I don't want to keep going, but that is a great question.
Well, and it says build.
Yes, yes.
Build.
Yes.
Is
It's
it
just this.
something that's gonna sustain us the rest of our lives?
Something you just know inside.
Uh,
Yeah. And will it stay to it?
It certainly merits some additional thought and
Yes.
maybe some research. And I have not done my homework assignments yet. Yesterday, it was a messed up day for me, so I'll add the homework later. That'll be one of the homework assignments. So thank you very much for helping me along here. All right, let's keep moving. I don't think we're going to answer that question, David. That is a good question. That's something that we need to think about. Very good. Verse 14. I've given them your word, the message you gave me. The world has hated them because they are not of the world and do not belong to the world, just as I am not of the world and do not belong to it. I've given them your message, but the world has hated them because they don't belong to the world any more than I belong to the world. Is it really easy for us to grasp? I'm sorry, it is really easy for us to grasp that Jesus did not belong to the world system. We don't have a problem with that. We get that. He did not belong to this world system. He entered that system to fix it, but it had no effect on him while he's fixing it. He still remained in the middle of it, but apart from it at the same time. He never got changed. He never got altered. He never got affected by this world system. Once we choose him, we are also not part of the world system anymore, any more than he was part of it. And when that occurred to me, I'm like, wow, I have never thought about that before. We view this as, oh, the world is such a struggle, and it's such a, and I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that the world's a beautiful place. We have issues. We have stuff going on. I get that. But our mentality has got to be just as he was not affected by the world system. Once I choose him, I'm in the same realm. I'm in the same kingdom. I'm in the same association that he was in. So any more than it affected him, it shouldn't affect me. Now, I'm not there yet. I don't think like that. I don't operate that way. But I have a right to step into this awareness that I'm in the world, but I'm not affected at all by the world system. The world wants to have an economic downturn. I choose not to participate. And I don't have to participate because I'm in another system. I'm in another kingdom. The world is going, it's being perverse. It's being rebellious. It's being divided. There's all sorts of things you could say. And then the matter becomes, do you choose to participate? Where's your identity? Are you locked into, I'm part of this world system, so whatever they do affects me? Or do you finally realize he pulled me out of that system and put me in a new kingdom, So I should only be affected by what's going on in this new kingdom.
Why put us into the world, but not want us to be of the world?
The same way that he was. It's to expand his kingdom. It's to expand his realm of authority. It's to expand his control. It's to expand his family. He gives people a free choice. So it's up to us to help him make that choice clear. And if I'm operating in the same way that the world's operating, if my divorce rate in the church is as high as the divorce rate not in the church, there's a problem. That should not be. These two systems should not be equal statistically. There should be a definite advantage between, if you're really living in this kingdom of God system versus in this world system, there should be a distinct advantage, a distinct separation, a difference between those two realms. The problem is, I don't acknowledge myself as not being affected by the world and in this other kingdom. I still view myself as being in the middle of this, but with some help, which is not necessarily a bad position, but that's not the full revelation that God wants to give us here. Just as he was not part of the world, he's praying this for us. We have no more right to consider ourselves, to view ourselves as being part of this world system. We've been removed from that and translated into the kingdom of darkness, into the kingdom of his dear son. Pulled from one into the other. And what we like to do is try to have a foot in both. And it doesn't work. You end up being miserable on both sides. Why do we want to be so attached to the world system? Because in largely, we don't want the difficulties that come if we are not aligned with the world system. We don't want the persecution. We don't want the being ostracized. We don't want the being labeled. We don't want all the stuff that comes with really living this out. Myself included. I mean, I'm not saying I'm exempt from this, but this is really shaking me to the point that I've got to make some adjustments. I've got to do some things differently when I finally realize I don't have to be affected by the world system any more than Jesus was affected by the world system. That's what this verse is telling me.
Choose to be part of his family.
Yes. Yes. And if that were the only choice, then I've heard people say this before, and it's really true. It sounds bad, but it's really true. If that were all there was to Christianity, okay, we want you to be included in the family. So as soon as somebody goes to the front and gives their life to Jesus, we should take them out back and shoot them. We're just going to send them on home. Not going to give them an opportunity to mess this up. We're going to seal this decision. You're out of here. But that is not at all what Christianity is about, because it's not just about us. It's about you and your influence and the people around you seeing a difference in your life and how you get to influence them to make the same choice you made.
I have a friend that he's the only friend that I've obtained from my before I met Jesus. And I love him to death, but he's still in this world system. He still goes out to the bars. We talk very frequently, and it's funny because we're both polar opposites on the political spectrum. I don't want to get into politics, obviously, but he's very opinionated in his views, and I listen to him, and what he says, and what drives his emotions, what drives his life, is so worldly based. And this doesn't make me better than him. I've just been fortunate, and now I can see the differences that I was like, man, I can see the difference of being worldly driven,
right,
versus being Christ driven. And again, I have to really bite my tongue because I want to finger point, and I want to. That's not how this works.
right.
I'm not. I try to do in my utmost best to put Jesus first. That, dude, you have a choice. that you can choose to be part of this world, and I've said this tonight. Or you can choose to follow Christ. And he's a very bad alcoholic. His brother was a minister who gave up the faith, put back out into this world. And so he has some things against him. But to the point I'm making is that I can see the difference when someone who is in this world, how they talk
Right.
and how they act. It's just like,
And you really can't get on their case because they don't know any better.
I think, then just try to point out the fact that, you have choices, bud. I love you like your brother, but you have some choices you can make. And he flat out does not want to make those choices right now. I pray for him fervently.
Right.
But you can see the difference between being in this world or being, of the world and being not. It's.
Even though you're both still on the planet, even though you're both
Yes.
still in the same or similar situations, it's not being removed from the world. It's the world system doesn't impact me. It doesn't affect me. It has no bearing on the way I live my life or what I do with my life. And we've got to get to the point where we realize that. Just do it with a smile and you'll be good. Put your pinky up. Yeah. Yeah. He was never removed. Right. Right. Go and sin no more. Right. Because I'm not here to do that. That's not why I'm here. I have the right to do it. Even if he went to, he was without sin, let him cast the first stone. He qualified. He could have done that if he had so chosen to do it, but that was not why he was here. I didn't come to condemn the world, but I came to forgive the world. His mission was forgiveness. His forgiveness was his mission was mercy. More from verse 14. I've given them your commands, and the world hates them because they don't fit in with it, just as I don't. I gave them your word. The godless world hated them because of it, because they didn't join the world's ways, just as I didn't join the world's ways. So if we really embrace this idea that I don't have to be part of the world system, what that will mean is I do not have to choose the world's ways. I do not have to choose the world's ways to get ahead financially. I don't have to steal. I don't have to cheat. I don't have to lie. I don't have to do questionable stuff to get to where I want to go. I don't have to cheat on my wife. I don't have to cheat on my spouse. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to go and be at the mercy of my own lusts, at the mercy of my own passion. I don't have to act that way. I don't have to be part of that system. I don't have to live there. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be bound by that anymore. Once we finally realize I don't have to do this, I'm in this other system, our lives are going to change when we finally realize that, when we finally clue into that, I'm not in this anymore. I'm over here. And my system and your system are totally different. We're sharing the same space on the planet, but the systems are totally independent and totally different from each other.
Why did they hate us?
He said, you're not acting like they do. And they don't want you condemning them just with your lifestyle. They don't want you confronting their sin just because you don't participate. Somehow, and I never understood this, but somehow when you're in the midst of doing stupid stuff, somehow it feels better when you can get more people to join you.
It's fellowship.
Okay.
It's fellowship.
It's negative. It's the negative. Okay. All right. I never thought about it that way. That's an interesting point.
That was my source of fellowship.
Okay.
And, when you don't know, maybe I didn't know. I didn't look at it from that perspective, but no, it was fellowship. And then when you leave that fellowship, you gotta fill it with something else.
Yeah.
Thank God Jesus fulfills that.
And then as Christians, and I'm not going to say that we do this, but we try to mentally keep score of how many people we've led to the Lord, how many people, how many things that we've, but on the other side of that, the scorecard would be, okay, how many people that claim to go to church can I mess up? Can I pull into stuff that they know they shouldn't be doing? How many people can I influence negatively to do things that they should not be participating in and they know it? So I'm going to give myself kudos for every one of these people that I can knock off the wagon. So, or pull off the wagon, so to speak.
Now, they are being taken by God.
Yes.
But they resist it and then.
Yes. And this is how that's,
Yes, he consciously decides not to follow Jesus, yet he still calls me asking for prayer. So I know he's, he's being pulled, back and forth, back and forth. Because why would he call asking me to pray for his father or him or whoever? There's obviously something going on.
Might bring him joy.
Yeah.
Might
Yeah.
feel something.
Yeah, I just keep working on it.
To me, it shows how powerful God is because he's begging me, your friend, who's resisting God. And he probably knows deep down he shouldn't be resisting him. And then so he lashes out at you because you have turned the other way.
He never really lashed out at me. And he doesn't like God. He doesn't like what God is. He knows the Bible. He knows his brother has 2 doctorates in theology. And he doesn't like God, but he likes Jesus. And I can't get him to understand that one of the same.
right. Yeah.
Anyways,
I have given them your word, and the world has despised them because they are not products of the world, in the same way that I am not a product of the corrupt world order. I've given them your message, and that's why the unbelieving world hates them. For their allegiance is no longer to this world, because I am not of this world. It's another way of saying the same thing. The world, if we're doing this right, we should not be able to get along peacefully on every front with the world. There should be some differences. Now, I'm not saying we go out of our way to try and blow these out of proportion. I'm not saying that. But the way that they live their life, day in, day out, should be different depending on which camp you're in. You shouldn't be in the same sentences. You shouldn't be in the same circles. You shouldn't be in the same, doing the same. There should be a distinction between this side and this side. All that was necessary for the disciples to stop being part of the world was for Jesus to give them the word. Notice that he said here, I've given them your word, and it's the word that's doing this change. It's the word that's the impetus behind this frustration and this persecution and this hatred that they're going to experience from the world. That word is much more powerful and penetrating than what we often realize. Notice also that Jesus is really speaking by faith here. Looking at them from the outside, they weren't anywhere close to this stage yet. Were they being persecuted by the world? Not yet. Jesus was. Didn't happen to them yet. And when it did, over the next few hours, most of them bailed, most of them ran, most of them were fearful. So they're not at this spot yet. It hadn't dawned on them yet. So Jesus is saying this by faith. Part of my prayer for you is that you realize that the word that's in you is changing you from one kingdom to the other kingdom. And when that change happens, you are no longer going to be affected part of this world system any more than I am. And when that arrives, there's going to be some issues between you and the people that are still in that system.
Like you have people come to our church and they confess they believe in God and everything, but there has to be some kind of a shift where the word is in them and they are different. So when does that shift happen?
Well, part of it is when you get born again. That's when you become the new creation and the process starts. But from that point forward, it's how attuned do you stay to the word? Do you just hear that word but one time? Well, it's going to have some impact, but it's not going to do the full job of changing you because you're just simply not exposed to it. What you feed grows. What you give your attention to, what you give your focus to grows. It becomes stronger. So if you want to remove yourself from this system, if you want to realize this and walk this out, how are you going to do this? He's saying you do it with a word. So if I'm living here and I don't want to be, and I want to actually move over to this other side, what do I need to do? I need to focus on the word over and over and over again. It has the power. It has the ability. It has the drawing. It has the leadership to make that transformation and leave me here, even though there's persecution coming, leave me comfortable, leave me joyous, leaving me whatever in the midst. Yes. Yes. And that's why I say, I've given you the word. Right.
And they did that yet.
But they didn't have the Holy Spirit yet. So he is a big factor in the acceleration of this. And they were having to deal with all their preconceived ideas about what this Messiah was going to do and how he was going to interact. So there was a lot of stuff they had to unlearn. A lot of us have the same issues. We come to church and we get serious about God, and it's all the baggage from our past suddenly slaps us in the face. And I've got to deal with this now, and I've got to deal with this now, and I've got to do this. I'm not saying any of that's easy, but I'm saying the process is the same. All that's got to be dealt with in some way. You got to be healed, you got to be delivered, you got to be restored from all that before you officially move from one to the other. And the word is one of the tools that'll help you do that. Holy Spirit helping you understand the word and not just reading it casually, but over and over and over again. In typical fashion, Jesus declares the desired or the expected end as fact long before it arrives in the natural realm. It's so easy for us to dismiss or minimize what God says about us when compared to our circumstances or even our own thoughts, emotions, desires, etc., and seem so hypocritical. Have you ever been there? God, you say this about me, but my situations say the exact opposite, which is true. Well, what God says about you is ultimately true, but it won't be true to you until you realize God is saying this and this other system is saying something else. Which one am I going to believe? Whose report am I going to believe in this case? Am I going to believe that report or am I going to believe this report? And I've got to go through the process of shifting which one I give more weight to, which one I give more credence to, which one I give more believability to. It's not going to happen overnight. One by one, okay, in this area, I choose to go this way. I don't like it. It feels weird right now. It feels like I'm being a hypocrite, right? Coughing and hacking, and I still declare I'm healed. I still declare that I'm whole. I still declare that, well, your situation do not seem to line up with it. Are you going to walk by the faith, or are you going to walk by what you can see? You're choosing which camp you're going to live in. When the disciples heard Jesus say this about them, they likely felt the same way. What do you mean we're not of the world? Of course we're of the world. We have the same concerns that they have about this whole deal. So they had to choose to receive this prayer by faith, just like we're going to have to choose to receive this prayer by faith. They didn't feel like that in the moment, but they would in a few days. In a few days, their whole world was about to turn upside down. Their whole world was about to be very different. What do you really believe in those situations? They had an opportunity to believe the circumstances, which said Jesus is dead, he's in the tomb, this is over. And now they're coming after us. Or Jesus said he was coming out of that tomb. So I choose to believe that. I don't understand it. I don't get that. I don't know how. That's what he said. I choose to believe it. I'm going to remain hopeful. I'm going to remain expectant that that is exactly what transpires. Verse 15. I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but to keep them safe from Satan's power. I do not ask you to take them out of the world, but I ask you to take care of them so that the evil one of this world will not harm them. I do not ask that you should take them out of the world, but that you should guard them safely from the reach of the pernicious one. When we face stuff going on in the world, how quickly do we start asking for Jesus to come back and pull us out of here? We don't want to do this. We don't want to be in this fight. We don't want to be hated. We don't want to be persecuted. We don't want to be despised. We don't want any of this stuff. So our solution is, Jesus, come back and get us so we can just be done. How many prayers have been prayed about that? And notice in this situation, Jesus did not pray that for them at all. Do you realize that such a prayer says you're willing to concede all the ground you're currently holding? Lord, I don't want to mess with this. I know I've got a family. I know I've got a business. I know I've got these ministries, and I know I do this and this and this and this, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Pull me out of here. It's the easy way out. And when you get pulled out, what happens to all that stuff that you're in? It still goes on, but you're losing your ability to influence it, to control it, to make sure that it stays in the kingdom.
And, you pray that prayer, generally he doesn't pull you out. He tends to let you stay in it. And you might go through the kicking and screaming.
Right.
And yet you're still being obedient to the best of your ability. And then you come out to the other end of it, and you're like, oh, God saw me through that.
Okay, think about it this way. What if Jesus had prayed for them to get out of there? Okay, Lord, I know it's about to get bad here, so I want you to just take them out of here so they don't have to put up with that. I really love them, and I don't want to see them hurt, so I just want you to take them out. You would have the Bible. Most of us wouldn't be here today because we heard indirectly from their accounts, from their testimony, and from their evidences. The place would be entirely different than it was had Jesus have actually prayed that they be removed. How selfish is it to pray that we be removed? How weak is it to pray that we be removed?
Oh, that's something.
Don't know about it, so we pull out.
Right, right. Yes. And that they could fall as a result of you not, but yeah. Or you giving up. Jesus prayed that God would protect them from the enemy's power. So he chose not to pray that they be removed, but that God would protect them from the enemy's power. He's praying that for us too. So here you got Jesus saying, no, I don't want you out. I want you to stay in the middle of this, but I'm going to pray that the Father protect you from the enemy's power. Why are we afraid? Did that prayer get answered? Jesus prayed it, so I sure hope it got answered, or it's in the process of being answered. He prayed it for you. I'm not going to take them out, but I want you, Father, to protect them from the enemy's power. Doesn't mean you're not going to go through stuff, but you're the victor so long as you remain the victor in your own mind and in your own words. Doesn't matter what he brings at you. Verse 16. They are not of the world, worldly, belonging to the world, just as I am not of the world. They are no more sons of the world than I am. They are no more defined by the world than I am defined by the world. Like me, they're not products of the corrupt world order. This is the same verse that we read earlier. But now I want you to apply it to you. Just like Jesus was not defined by the world, you have the option of not being defined by the world. Just like Jesus was not the product of the corrupt world order, you have an option of not being a product of the corrupt world order. Go backwards. Just as Jesus was not of the world, he was not worldly, he did not belong to the world, you have an option of not being worldly or belonging to the world. Just as Jesus was not a son of the world, you have an option of not being a son or a daughter of the world. Do we take him seriously about this? Do we pray that prayer for ourselves? Do we receive that prayer for us? This is the second time in the passage that Jesus says this. Why do you think he said it twice? Maybe it's really important that we hear this. Maybe it's essential that we get this. We are not defined by the world. I'll say it again. We are not defined by the world. We are not sons of the world. We do not belong to the world. We are not products of this corrupt world order. Maybe we need to spend some time meditating on that, thinking about that. Do you really believe that you are not defined by this world order? Or do you constantly argue that you're the victim of this and you were the result of this and you were you got impacted by this other thing and all this other stuff impacting you defines who you are? I'm not going to say that there's not a contribution there. They did establish your thought processes. They did establish wounds. They did establish some of your emotional stuff. But you have the option to say, I am not going to be defined by this world order. If I choose to be, then I choose to be. But I have the option to not choose to be defined by this world order. Verse 17. Sanctify them, purify, consecrate, separate them for yourself, set them apart for your purpose, make them holy by the truth. Your word is truth. Set them apart for holiness by means of the truth. Your word is truth. Your word is the truth. So let this truth make them completely yours. Your word is true. So let this truth, let your word make them completely yours. Now, again, what's going on? Jesus is praying this. For them, he's saying, Father, your word is truth. Let them, by your word, be made completely yours. So now put your name in there. Father, your word is truth. Let Danny, let Russell, let Stella, and let Karen, and let, I forgot your name. I'm sorry, it's slipped my mind. Kayla, that's it. I'm sorry. Let them be established by your truth. Your word is truth. Let them be made holy by your truth. Your word is truth. Make them ready for your service. Sanctify them. Consecrate them, setting them apart for service through your truth. Your teaching word is truth. Make them pure and holy through teaching them the words of truth. Make them holy, consecrated with the truth. Your word is consecrating truth. Immerse them in the truth. The truth your voice speaks. I like that one. Immerse them in the truth your voice speaks. Make them clean by the true word and keep them for yourself. Your word is true. Make them clean by the true word and keep them for yourself. Father, keep them for yourself after you clean them up. Don't let them return to where they were before. That's a prayer for us. Go through the process. Get yourself clean. Get yourself fully committed to God. Get yourself holy. Get yourself ready to serve. And then keep them there. Don't ever let them go back. Because the word is true, it has certain abilities within it. If we stick with the word, we inherit those inherent factors move you towards certain benefits and or outcomes. I wonder what would change if we viewed our time in the word as a plan to get to holiness, purity, consecrated, set apart for service, and becoming completely God's. Was Jesus saying that they were already doing this, that they're already there? He wasn't. He didn't say that they're already in that spot. He said, I've started this process with your word. Your word is the agent, and they're going to have to continue it even after I go. Likewise with us. He started the process when we got born again. It started by his word becoming seed on the inside of us that changed our situation, that changed our nature, that changed our DNA, actually. And all those things was the beginning of a process. The extent of the process, the length of the process, the quality of the process is all dependent upon how much we let that word rule, how much we let that word reign. That they would get to the goal. They'd get to a place where they were completely God's, and God would keep them in that spot if they committed to the process of keeping the word forefront.
Show love to God when you do what he commands you
Okay.
to do. And then he reveals himself to you when you do that. And then that's when you see the miracles happen
Yes.
in this world. And, and to me, that's what they're talking about here.
Yes.
Is communicating.
with truth, with not just lies, not just stuff, not just information, but with truth. Verse 18, just as you commissioned and sent me into the world, I also have commissioned and sent them, believers, into the world. In the same way that you gave me a mission in the world, I gave them a mission in the world. I have commissioned them to represent me just as you commissioned me to represent you. Now think about this. We can all agree that the Father sent Jesus with a mission, that he sent him to do a certain thing. Now, Jesus is saying, just as you did that, just as you sent me into the world with a mission, I'm sending them into the world with a mission. Do we struggle with being sent by God? Back up a step. Do we believe that God is actually sending us? If we get that, then it stands to reason that we should at least think about, why is he sending us? What is he sending us to do? The odds of us fulfilling our mission increase once we realize what that mission is. The next level then is to believe in the sending God, knowing that he will know what we need, when we need it, and similar things about what we're going to encounter while being sent. He wants us to succeed in completing the assignment and will do whatever is needed to make that happen. He already invested the life of Jesus, so why would he withhold anything else from us en route to us finishing our mission? For completing our assignment. Now, what is the problem here? Most of us don't believe that we have an assignment, or we haven't taken the time to figure out what that assignment is. So can God send you? Well, who do you think you are? I am exactly who Jesus is saying that I am here. He's prayed this for me. His prayer got answered. So just as Jesus came into the world with a mission, I also am sent into the world with a mission. It's not the same one he had. It's different. It's unique. Your mission is not the same one he had, but you have one. Do you know what it is? And while you're doing it, does it stand to reason that if God sends you out to do something, that he's going to pay the bills? That he's going to take care of all the stuff that you need while you're doing what he sent you to do? Do you really want to serve a leader, or in this case, a king, or a nation or something that sends you out to war but makes you bring your own bullets? That makes no sense. I don't want to be fighting for that country. I don't want to do that. That's not a good plan there. That's not a good system. But God, the owner of all the cattle on the 1,000 hills, he owns the hills that those cattle are on. He sends you out into the world with a mission. Is he not able to get you what you need to do that mission? People, resources, money, contacts, connections, marketing, I don't know, fill in the blank. Whatever you may need to do that mission, he is perfectly willing, capable to head in your direction. Our problem is we spend way too much time trying to figure out what that mission is, that he can't really get us the resources yet because we're not actually doing it. Or right. And the Army has certain the missions. I mean, there are assignments. When did you win? When you completed the mission. Were you successful? When you completed the mission, not before. Hey, we're going to go over here tomorrow and we're going to do this. Well, have you done it yet? No. Why not? Well, the tanks aren't here yet, and the Air Force hadn't showed up to give us air cover yet. Something's messed up. Something's messed up. I heard somebody say one time, some people are sent and others just went. Think about that. Some are sent and some just went. If you just went on your own, is God under any obligation to help you? You say yes, okay? I don't think he may end up helping you anyway, but he's not obligated to do so.
My wife called, but we, I don't want to single her out, we got it in our own effort. And where we had minimal success, it was a lot of work. But as the more we were obedient to the calling, and we were being molded and adjustments were made, we got to the point where we finally got in line with God's will, and whatever shifted in our thoughts, or whatever it was, God's like, okay, now you're following my will.
Right.
And the provision was unreal. It's like, now I can work.
So there might have been some provision before.
But it was the provision was out of our own effort.
Okay. All right.
We worked, it was a lot of work, and it was a struggle. There were many setbacks. But once we shifted to God's will and what his plan for this ministry was, it just, every resource we needed. And when I'm talking, God let us show off.
Right.
He blessed us. And people who were not strong Christ followers, they might be saying, I don't know. But it was an example to them.
Right.
It's like, they were blown away. They're
Right.
like, you mean this is what following God is
Mm-hmm.
like? Absolutely, this is what following God is like. And it was just when he says I'll make the storehouse overflow, he's not joking. He will make the storehouse overflow.
I
And
think
so,
sometimes when you go, and, God kind of says, okay, what do you need? What do you
Yeah.
need?"
Yeah. Yeah. You want my job? Have at it. Right. 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 I'm not saying that we automatically get to the mission that we're assigned to do without going through some of these. Now, we don't have to necessarily, but the pattern is usually, okay, I'm going to try this because I have a yearning in this kind of direction, but until I figure out the specifics, until I figure out the details, until I figure out exactly what's going on here, I'm going to kind of feel lost until it finally clicks. And now you're tapped into what God has ordained, what he has commissioned. So if you're kind of on your own when you're going by yourself, when you just decide, okay, I'm going to go, and you're kind of on your own when you do it, how much more is he obligated to be there when it's his idea?
So the trick, then when it's his idea.
Exactly. And not yours. Yeah.
So now, when God has said his idea, but
The timing is the hardest question for me. I know of a lot of things that are coming, and I'm not sure about the timing on when they're supposed to come. So until they start moving, or until there's an opportunity to move that direction, I can't really get into it until that door opens at the beginning. And apparently there's a timing thing, at least part of it, as to why that door hadn't opened yet. What were you gonna say? Yes.
something will come to mind that it's a calling, it's a yearning, it's something that wasn't there before, and yet it won't leave your mind, it won't leave your spirit. It's just you're repetitively thinking about it, not in an unhealthy way, but in a manner it's like you start to ask that question: is this from God, or is this my own thinking? And he'll answer that question. You know, it's generally this. You're thinking about something you've never thought about, yet it won't leave. It just sits there. And it costs you to ask him, God, is this from you? Is this from you? If it is, then all right, man, what do you think you need to do? And I found that's been my experience. I know it's probably different for everybody else, but I know there's certain things that won't leave my mind. And I'm not necessarily an obsessive type person, but I know that I start to question, all right, since this is on my mind so strong, is this from you, God, or is this some sort of,
Right.
you know, why do I have these thoughts? And he'll work with you. He will put people, he'll put resources, he'll put whatever it is in front of you, his word will come to you and just be like, this is what I'm having you think about.
And some of those people will confirm the thing to you, will confirm the direction to you, or, hey, you're doing great at this. There's really an anointing, there's really a gift that you have to.
where you live. And I'm like, okay, God, I just looked. But I trust you. And I went, I just let him lead. And it just, boom. It has come together. He brought the person that's to lead this group. And people, I've never met this gentleman, but he orchestrated it. All I did was just, okay, Lord, I trust you. Your timing, your plan, you lead it. And it's just everything that he wanted happened. So this fall, we're gonna start that.
I've been in situations where I was doing something and it was very much affirmed, where people around said, yes, you need to keep doing that. I'm blessed when you do that. There's definitely something there. And I've also been in situations where you might ought to think about not doing that again. Maybe a different team would be better suited for you. What's that saying? Was I wrong in going to try it? Not necessarily. But God will help you get to exactly where you need to be. And part of it may be it just isn't flowing here yet. It just isn't connecting here. It feels like I'm having to fight a whole lot in this rather than let the current carry me in the right direction and me encounter you opening stuff and making connections and doing stuff well in advance of me getting there. Verse 19. And so for the sake and on their behalf, I sanctify, dedicate, consecrate myself to do your will, that they may also be sanctified, set apart, dedicated, consecrated, made holy in the truth. Excuse me. On their behalf, I'm setting myself apart for holiness, so that they too may be set apart for holiness by the means of the truth. I've given myself completely for their sake, so that they may belong completely to the truth. I'm making myself completely ready to serve you. I do this for them, so that they may also be fully qualified for your service. On their behalf, I give myself to you, so that I belong completely to you. Then they can completely belong to you as they follow the truth. It is entirely for their benefit that I have set myself apart, so that they may be set apart by truth. And on behalf of them, I am setting myself apart in order that they themselves also, having been set apart for God in the sphere of the truth, may continually be in that state of consecration. Jesus made sure that he went all in on holiness. Here he was, hours before the cross, saying that he wasn't done dying to himself yet. What's the big deal? If he hadn't done that, then there would be some area of his life that was not submitted to God. Would that have worked? As our sacrifice and example, he had to go all the way. Notice that Jesus did this for them. I'm going to sanctify myself for them. I'm going to sanctify myself on their behalf. I do it for their benefit. So when you're sanctifying yourself, you may get some benefit for you, but primarily it is for somebody else. Put yourself apart. I refuse to participate in this activity. I refuse to do this anymore. I refuse to talk like this. I refuse to act like this. I'm pulling myself out of the one kingdom into the other kingdom by the way that I act, by the way that I talk, by the way that I believe. And I'm going to put some guards, I'm going to put some bands on myself to prevent me from going there. I'm not going to go to the bar anymore. I'm not going to go to the, I don't know, to the bowling alley anymore if that was a problem for you. I'm not going to go visit this place. I'm not going to do that anymore. I choose to make some decisions, to make some choices that establish I'm not going in that direction. I'm not that person. Once you do that, you're in the process of removing yourself from the influence of the world and moving over here. The word is helping you do that. And you're doing that. You often think it's for you. I'm doing this because I need to be better. And that may be part of it. And you may get some benefit out of it. But primarily, without you realizing it, you're doing that for the next person that's going to be touched by your change. It's going to be touched by you being different. And now you having more authority to speak to that situation in their life. Does that make sense? If you conquered it, you got more authority over it to speak to help somebody else. If you've never been there, you don't have really any authority. You've got a theory about that situation. But if you've never done it, you don't really have real authority there until you have mastered it in you. So I'm going to get this fixed. I'm going to do it right. And you think, okay, I'm doing this for me to get myself closer to God. And you are. That's the benefit of doing it. But primarily, without you even realizing, it's for the next person. So that when you encounter that next person that's struggling, okay, here's what I did. This, and this, and it got me out of there. And it freed me from that. And it delivered me from that. Make sense? Notice that Jesus did this for them. He did the personal work, the hard work on their behalf. He went all the way for them. There is some personal benefit, but that is not the motivation. You must be willing to go through it so that you are at full capacity for whenever you get ready to help others. This thing doesn't have a hold on me anymore. I beat it. I'm victorious there. It's not something that I'm struggling with anymore. Let me show you what I did. You're at full capacity to help the next person rather than you still being messed around and pushed around by this thing occasionally. Verse 20. Neither do I pray, blah, blah, blah. Neither for these alone do I pray. It's not for their sake only that I make the request, but also for those who will ever come to believe in, trust in, cling to, rely on me through their word and teaching. That's where we enter the picture. So Jesus was praying for the disciples, and now he's saying, I'm not only praying this for them, I'm praying for all those that are going to hear because of them. And indirectly or directly, we have all heard because of what those 12 guys did, how they took the message to the world. One would reach one, and then that person would reach the next person. Then generation after generation after generation just keeps growing. But ultimately, we're all still here today because one of these 12 passed the word along a long chain of events, sequences, and people to get that same message down to us. I'm not praying just for these followers. I'm also praying for everyone else who will have faith because of what my followers will say about me. I ask not only for these disciples, but also for those who will one day believe in me through their message. So Jesus prayed all this for his disciples, direct and indirect. Every time Jesus said something about them, put your name in there. He prayed it for you also. And that's what I'm trying to do today, is get us to put your name in this passage and think about all the things that Jesus prayed for you in the course of events here. Verse 21. I want all of them to be one with each other, just as I am one with you and you are one with me. I also want them to be one with us. Then the people of this world will believe that you sent me. The goal for all of them is to become one heart and one mind, just as you, Father, are in me and I in you. They may be one heart and one mind with us. Then the world might believe that you, in fact, sent me. I pray for them to be joined together as one, even you as I pray for them all to be joined together as one, even as you and I, Father, are joined together as one. I pray for them to become one with us so that the world will recognize that you sent me. Now, sometimes we get weird about this concept of unity. As a whole, we are really unclear about what unity is and what unity isn't. I don't really have time to discuss it at length, but I want to illustrate it with a musical example. This video is going to demonstrate the difference between unison and harmony in musical groups or choirs or something. I'm going to play it twice. Watch the video and listen. Here we go.
The waters of my soul that to thee. Now we're going to harmony. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. That is beautiful, man. I feel like I should go to church. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do it again. Play the video again. They start in unison, and then midway through, they break into harmony. I hope you heard it shift. I hope you heard the difference between the two encounters. Here we go. Whoops.
So my soul give that to thee. Now we're going to harmony. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. That is beautiful, man. I feel like I should go to church. Yeah.
Okay, my point with that is if I were to ask the question, which of those is unity? Harmony, or they started in unison, then they went to harmony. Which is unity? Is that the only opinion? I'm going to say they both are. Now let's talk about it. When they did the unison part, you had four voices all singing the same note. Now they might have been singing it in octaves or in registers so that you hear the voices differently, but they're all singing the same note. Now what happens in harmony? Are they singing the same note? They're not. They're singing notes that are designed to blend with each other. So fifth or a third or something, the main note is here, and that'll be one of the parts. You drop it down a fifth of the note or something, and that'll be the next part down. Drop it down another fifth, and that'll be the third part. Raise it a fifth, and that'll be the fourth part, or however they end up doing it. They're singing different notes. So do we still say that both of them were unity? The first one is obviously unity because they're all doing the exact same thing. Which was better? Which did you like to listen to more? Which seemed more full? To me, the harmony, it was obvious. The harmony was beautiful. Now, there was nothing wrong with the unison part, but the harmony was like, wow, it just kind of came alive. It was really, really good because you're hearing all the different styles. You're hearing all the different components, all the different elements. And I'm still saying to you, it's still unity because they're all singing the same song. They're all singing it in the same starting key. They're all singing it at the same time.
Maybe that's how God sends people out into the world.
Exactly. Exactly. But they're singing the same song. So they're in unity. But the unity does not eliminate individual style, individual giftedness, individual contribution, individual opinion. It doesn't make everybody do the exact same thing. It's just so we're literally on the same page going in the same direction at the same time. With your gift, with my gift, with your note, with my note, all of it adding together, coming together, just sound really, really beautiful. As opposed to, oh, they're all robots doing the same thing the same way. And when we're talking about unities, we get this definition mixed up. We think somehow that means we've all got to be doing it the exact same way, or we're not in unity. That's not the point here. Unity will allow variation as long as you're both doing the same song, the same note at the same time, however that note is expressed. Does that make sense? Have you thought about that difference before, that concept of unity, what you define unity to be? Unity, correctly understood, does not restrict individual contribution and even style, but insists only upon singing the same song. Here's a quick question for you. Was Jesus always in agreement with the Father? Okay. Jesus prays that they would be one, that we would be one with each other, just as he and the Father were one with each other. Were they always in agreement? You say yes. I say no. What happens next in Jesus' life? What's the next passage that he goes into? Garden of Gethsemane. In the Garden of Gethsemane, were they in unity? Were they in agreement? Yes. Did Jesus want to do this? He did not. God, if there's any other way, let's figure out this other way. but nonetheless, not as I will, but as you will. So they weren't in agreement, but they were still in unity because Jesus ended up submitting his will to the will of the Father. It's an important distinction. When we start talking about unity, it means we're always in, no, it doesn't mean we're always in agreement. It means there's always somebody that makes the final decision. There's spiritual authority, there's spiritual lines of authority in place here, and you voice your opinion. You may disagree, you may agree to disagree, whatever. Eventually somebody makes a decision, and as soon as that decision is made, everybody else gets on board with that decision. It does not mean you're always in agreement, but you can still be in unity as they were when the lesser submits to the greater. Does that make sense? You okay, Russell? Okay. Does that make sense the way that I brought that? Okay. We've got this crazy idea about unity. Well, if we're in unity, we're always going to completely agree about everything. We're always going to do it all the same. I don't think that's God's idea of unity at all. And I think that our definition and defining it that way has really put us in weird spots, because now we're saying we're not in unity where we really could be and should be, even though there are stylistic differences between what we're doing and how we're going about doing it. Here's another thought about this. Jesus had just mentioned praying for the disciples and all those who would come into the family by listening to what those disciples would say. Think about the different cultures that these countless people would come from. At a high level, this new group, I'm going to call them Christians, would be a combination of Jews and Gentiles. Would they approach the gospel from the same point of view? Would they enter the family from the same point of view? A Jew and a Gentile. How are they supposed to be in unity? Is there room for unity between a Jew and a Gentile? In our society, male and a female, black and a white, rich and a poor, fill in the blank. There's all sorts of ways we could categorize people and illustrate their differences. Can there be unity between them? How did the disciples deal with this question of Jew versus Gentile? Acts chapter 15, they had a meeting and had to decide, okay, what really defines unity for us? We know we've got Jews coming into this thing, and we know we've got Gentiles coming into this thing. How are we going to walk together on this? What are we going to do that's going to define unity? Did they agree? Did the Jews adapt the position of the Gentiles? No. Did the Gentiles adapt fully the position of the Jews? No. So what did the disciples end up doing? Okay, it will be enough for us if we do this, this, and this, incorporate some stuff from both camps. And this is what we're going to define as unity between those two things. Can you guys get on board with that? Yeah. Can you get on board with that? Yes. So they reached a compromise, and in the compromise, they had unity. But they weren't necessarily still in agreement about the fullness of what was going on. But they were still in unity of the faith, and you can prove it by the fact that the church grew daily by hundreds, by thousands, as many as were being saved, both Jews and Gentiles.
He said that if Jews and Gentiles work together and believe in each other, you're only getting half God.
That's right. Yes. Think back to the harmony thing. What if one of the people decided not to sing? You lose part of the fullness. You lose part of the sound. You lose part of the message just because that one person didn't add their piece to the mix. So we've gotten so bent out of shape about this unity thing that we force people to forfeit their piece, to forfeit their contribution, their style. All right, getting close to the end here. Verse 22. I've given them the glory and the honor you have given me, that they may be one just as we are one. I've honored my followers in the same way you honored me, in order that they may be one with each other just as we are one. And the clarity which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one even as we are one. I have made them great the way you have made me great, That makes us one as we are one. Out of the oneness between the Father and Jesus, the Father glorified, honored, clarified, and made Jesus great. So they are one together, and that oneness was displayed to Jesus by the fact that the Father glorified, honored, clarified, and made Jesus great. Jesus did the same thing with his disciples. The point of that was to make the disciples one with each other and also one with Jesus and the Father. You won't feel one with someone if anyone in the equation sees someone as either less or greater. Let's say I have a maid that cleans the house. Am I going to be one with that maid as long as I treat her like a maid? But what if I start treating her like a family? She now eats with us. She now helps us. She now even goes on vacation with us. She is around us continually. Am I shattering that you're the maid thing? And what happens as a result of me shattering that you're the maid thing? We can now be one. We can now act like we're in unity with each other, and you're not my hireling. You're not somebody that's under me. So what had to happen here is the greater has to bless, acknowledge, verify, lift up the lesser to raise them to equal footing so that they could be one together. As long as somebody feels higher or lower, you're never going to be one. You can't get to being one if one is higher and one is lower. And that's what he's saying here is, I did this to you. I clarified things to you. I honored you. I gave you a name. I exalted you. I lifted you up to my level so that now moving forward, we're on the same level, and at the same level, we can be one together moving forward. The greater person must elevate the lesser person up to equal status, or they can never be united with each other. And he did that. Do we act like he did that? Or do we still view ourselves as being second-class citizens? Do we still view ourselves as being lesser in the family, lesser in the relationships? You put all the believers in the church on the line, and I'm lesser than all them. You're never going to be one if you view yourself as being lesser. Or if you view somebody else as being greater, you're never going to be one. So you have to fix this thing first, get it even, and now you, as evens, as equals, you can move forward acting as one together. Verse 23, I and them and you and me, that they may be perfected and completed into one, so that the world may know without any doubt that you sent me and that you have loved them just as you loved me. I am one with them and you are one with me, so they may become completely one. Then this world's people will know that you sent me. They will know that you love my followers as much as you love me. You will live fully in me, and now I live fully in them, so they will experience perfect unity. And the world will be convinced that you have sent me, for they will see that you love each of them with the same passionate love that you have for me. In the Aramaic, perfect unity from this verse could be rendered as shrink into one. Shrink into one. For each of us to get to this unity phase with each other and with God, our own exalted opinions of ourselves must continue to die. So if you go into this situation and you think you're the greater, are you ever going to be one? So part of this is for the greater to pull the other one up, but it's also for the greater to bring themselves down so that we're all in the same place, we're all on the same level, and then you can be one. Only then can you be one. And it's that oneness. It's that we're all singing the same song. We may sing it differently. Some of us may sing it badly. Some of us may sing it well. But we're all singing the same song at the same time, in the same way, going the same direction, and still allowing individual gifts, individual talents, individual contributions within this idea of unity and oneness and being one together with each other, being one together in Christ, being one together with Jesus in the Father. Quite a prayer. Jesus prays for us. I think we would do well to put our name in the passage and think about some of these things that he prayed. Am I doing that? Am I receiving that? Am I walking that out? Am I allowing that to transpire in my life? Jesus prays for us. He did pray for us. Are we going to receive what he prayed for us? That prayer got answered. That prayer is continuing to be answered. Are we benefiting from that prayer?